Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another session of Maheiii. And in today's session, we are going to explore a very fascinating and a very important branch, the art of thinking, introduction to life's big questions. And joining us in this very important topic, we have a very special guest who is currently pursuing his master's in philosophy and is also an author to a beautiful book called Poison Antidote. So please welcome Sir Hansen Ngairangbam.
So, hi, my name is Hansen. I'm currently studying philosophy. I've been studying philosophy for the last about 4 to 5 years, and I'm the author of the book Poison and Antidote, which is a poetry book illustrated by me. And yeah, that's pretty much. I've been teaching for the last 5 to 6 years, but that's unofficially.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time out to share your knowledge with the students. So, to start this session off, let's start by defining what philosophy is in an easy language for the children.
Yeah, sure. So philosophy. Okay, so let's since we are talking about kids, let's not get into the technicalities or the literal senses. But so philosophy, the very word philosophy comes from two words, that is philo and sophia. So philo means philo means philo and sophia. So these are Greek words, and together they means love for knowledge. So the very idea of philosophy is very different from what we as a society today know philosophy to be. So there's this, I don't know, there's this very big misconception in our society that when you choose philosophy or when you talk about or study philosophy, it's more like a self-willing diagnosis of madness, that you have chosen to be mad. It's a subject of madness, but it's not like that. So philosophy, if I am to put in a very simple term, is to learn, to know, to have that curiosity, to want to know why, how, and what. So that is basically philosophy. So philosophy was the first subject that ever existed. In the beginning, it was all philosophy. So from philosophy came your psychology, your physics, biology, chemistry, sciences, all these various sciences, ethics, mathematics. So they were all part of this one single tree of knowledge, which is philosophy. And when over time, when it developed, it got divided into various branches. So that basically is philosophy. But today, the idea of philosophy is more into it deals more with ethics, with morals, or with the like today when we talk about philosophy, it's more about uh, it's more on the technical term of knowledge. It's either ethics generally, or it's about logic, or it's about whether how do you know that a knowledge is correct or not. So it deals more in that area.
So as Sir was talking about so many things, let's to pick up first
Yeah.
one of the things that you talked about, curiosity. What is the role of curiosity in one's life?
Yeah.
And as we talk about the why questions, why is it important to ask all these why questions?
Hmm. Okay, now that is the very core of philosophy that you have chosen, curiosity. That is a very that's the the very the thing that is at the heart of the subject. So because of this why, this is the very reason why philosophy exists, curiosity. So curiosity is very important. It is very significant, and it is because of this. It is because of curiosity that something as knowledge can exist. If there is no curiosity, you can never know about anything. And and what was your question? Sorry, I got carried away.
What's the role of curiosity in one's life?
Okay, what's the role of curiosity in one's life? See, I think without curiosity, there wouldn't be any difference between human and other species, other living species. Because curiosity is what makes us different. It's what makes an individual an individual. Because Aristotle has also said that man is a rational animal. So rational means to be able to think logically. Now, without curiosity, so rationality is also something that comes from curiosity. So just imagine a kid who is growing up and the kid doesn't have any curiosity. So is there any possible scenario where that kid would actually learn something? So this it becomes a very difficult scenario to imagine to a human life without curiosity. Without curiosity, there is nothing. You consider any field of subject, whether it be education, literature, science, geography, anything, nothing would happen. Like nothing would stop. Everything would stop making sense. Everything would lose its meaning, its purpose. So curiosity is like the starting point where everything starts.
So, as we're talking about curiosity, it pushes one to think. So, the first question is,
Yeah.
does thinking makes life easier or harder?
Thinking makes life, now that depends. That's a very relative question. So, all right, let's consider somebody who, for whom life is very, who wants life to be like he wants to wake up early in the morning, he wants to do his breakfast, go to job, do his job and spend some time with family. So, and just follow a daily routine to so which becomes mundane over time. So in that regard, it makes thinking or curiosity, it would make life more complex for them. But then but that is for the but that's not like a complete picture. If we consider the complete picture, like if we are thinking about really long term, if we are thinking about life, then knowing of thinking and curiosity, it is actually it makes life easier. Because when you are living your life and you have no clue what's going to happen, which we actually don't to some extent, but at least to some extent we can at least be prepared. So yes, of course, from the point of view that it helps us stay prepared and advance life with a more prepared vision, so it makes life easier in that sense, I guess.
Okay, so in the same line of thinking, there's a term called critical thinking, which I would love to introduce to all the students watching. So could you please define that and
Yeah.
also explain why is it important and how do we start practicing that in our daily lives?
Okay. So, uh, to answer your question first, what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is a type of thinking in which you do not just accept something as it is. You question that if you are being told, if you're told something that eating sweet is bad, so you question why is it bad? What are the things that make sweet bad? And can we eat sweets and yet at the same time, under some condition, make it not bad? So these are the things that comes with critical thinking. Critical thinking is very important because without critical thinking, the entire society or life itself become very dogmatic. We just follow a set of rules and orders. We follow what other peoples are doing. So critical thinking is very important. And yeah, that is like, to put it very simply, without critical thinking, a person becomes incomplete, especially in today's society where you have to think so much that technology has advanced to such a higher level that even a usual adult can very easily fall into traps, or can very easily falls into I don't know, like with the onset of AI, you cannot really trust anything. So here, critical thinking plays a major role. So not only in your personal life, but also in the society as a whole. Because without a society where people have stopped critical thinking, where people are distracted with other things, and they think that critical thinking is something which is not very necessary, which is optional. So in that scenario, the society would become very dangerous, a place where the ruler or the state can decide or rule in whatever possible way they wish. So, and especially in a place, especially belonging to a nation where democracy is such a big thing, critical thinking becomes necessary. It is a necessary. Like uh, we cannot do without it.
So, in the same line, critical thinking is important also for many reasons. In this age of social media and everything, it's easy to get confused.
Yes, yes.
So, how do we
Yeah.
understand the difference between opinion and knowledge?
Opinion and knowledge. Opinion doesn't necessarily have to be something that is true. Opinion can come under the influence of emotion. It can be very subjective in nature. Your opinion and my opinion may differ, not just because your knowledge and my knowledge differs. It may be because your experience in life, what we have seen, is very drastically different from what I have seen growing up. So opinion is something which is not very dependable, I would say, as a student of philosophy. But knowledge, on the other hand, knowledge is regarded as something that is supposed to be common for everyone. Now there are other terms in philosophy to define knowledge, but I wouldn't go into that. Uh, so knowledge should be something that is common for you, common for me. So the idea of good, let's say. So let's say the idea of a good girl or a good boy. It shouldn't. It is something that is common to you and common to me. Your idea of good boy and my idea of good boy. Let's say that it is same, even though it cannot be to some extent. So the difference between opinion and knowledge is opinion is not dependable. You cannot depend on opinions. Okay. So somebody may have a very strong opinion with lots of conviction, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that opinion is true. While knowledge, on the other hand, can be true for more than one person at a single time, and knowledge at the same time is justifiable. Knowledge can be based on facts, it can be based on reason, which is not the case with opinion.
In the beginning of the sessions, I had mentioned about how, in the modern definition of philosophy, it is more based
Yes.
on ethics and morals and everything. So, could you please explain a little bit on
Mhm.
that? And also explain what ethics, morals, dilemmas, and all these things.
Okay, okay. So the modern definition of philosophy has become more lenient towards ethics. It is so because see, I told you that in the beginning philosophy was everything. Everything was a part of philosophy. But the thing is, back then we didn't know much about the world. We didn't have the technology to justify or to check whether, let's say, I made a philosophy that everything came from water, and we all will return to water. Okay, so imagine about 1,000 years before, you didn't have the technology to check whether whatever I'm saying is true or not, right? So everything could be considered a part of philosophy. Like metaphysics was a big part of philosophy. Metaphysics, which is that what is the reality made of? Where did the reality come from? And also the study of theology was also part of philosophy. Like what is God? You know, did God really create the world or not? Does God exist? Or what is a soul? Does ghost exist? And then also science, Pythagoras, whom we know with the famous Pythagorean theorem, he's actually considered a philosopher. So we study him. We study Pythagoras in philosophy. Aristotle, who made so many contributions in different sciences. So what happened was when we started developing, when we started advancing in technologies and knowledge, things started getting divided. The things that which we couldn't confirm before started getting more clearer. So philosophy sort of started moving away from its previous position, because you have your chemistry, you have physics, you have biology, and when so many things started getting divided, now the question remains that what do we do? Like, what is there left for philosophy to study now? So now, even though there are so many other things that philosophy can still study, philosophy plays a huge role in lawmaking, justice, and so many other things, and even in sciences. But the common thing that people know today is related with morals and ethics. Philosophy means morals and ethics. Like it is very common for us to hear in movies and in conversation when people talk that what is your philosophy of life, right? What is his philosophy, what is her philosophy, or what is the philosophy of your business. So when they are saying philosophy, it is not actually philosophy in its original sense. It is more like, what is your moral, what is your code of what is your moral code in life. So here now, before we go on, allow me to just clarify what is ethics. Ethics is nothing but just the basic study of what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. So ethics is basically moral science. What we study in school as moral science or value education, that is ethics. So what is honesty? What should you do to be a good person, or what should you avoid to not be a bad person? This is ethics. Now, coming back to the topic that why philosophy is so much related to ethics, is because philosophy, like I said in the beginning, philosophy deals with the question why and how and what. Okay, so let's say you say that drinking from this cup is good rather than drinking from your bare hand, right? So philosophy would ask, why is it that drinking from this particular cup is good and this is bad? Okay, and how is it bad? How is it good? So since our morals are all about, this is bad. Morals are basically do's and don'ts, right? You should do this, you should not do that. So in order to answer those questions, philosophy plays philosophy, that is exactly what philosophy does, right? Philosophy used to do that do the same for other sciences, but now that other sciences have made their own paths differently, now philosophy does that job for ethics. So right now, ethics is one of the most significant and relevant subject or term that comes to our mind when we talk about philosophy, because people have sort of started relating both and started observing both as one. So yeah, that is ethics and that is morals, I guess. I mean, there are so many things to talk about, but I'm actually this is my first time giving an interview like this, and so much things going on inside my mind, and I'm finding it very hard to address which one to choose first. So you can ask repeated questions repeatedly, but I'm kind of derailing away.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to share on this particular branch of study,
Yeah,
and we cannot complete the entire thing
yeah,
in one session. But how
yeah, sure.
how do you personally deal with moral dilemmas or difficult choices?
Moral dilemmas and difficult choices. Well, those are called difficult for a reason. First of all, because it's very difficult. See, the very idea of dilemma means you are stuck between two choices. That should I go to another state to study further, or to do that job, or should I stay home because I want to look after my parents? Now that is a dilemma. Another dilemma is I'm interested in both history and geography, but now that I've done with my high schools or my higher secondary education, I'm bound to choose one between the two. That is a dilemma. Now, during such time, there are two ways to go with it. Either you go from the emotional point of view, or you go from the rational point of view, and the results are different. So, what you can do is you dis- uh, you think about it in both the perspective. You first think from the emotional point of view, and then you allow yourself to think from the rational point of view, and then you are going to arrive at two different results. Now you compare those results. That is the end goal, right? So now you can now that gives you an idea. What do I want between the two? So let's say there's a kid who wants to go to another state to study, but then he also knows that he has responsibilities back home. So now he first thinks emotionally that no, I'm more emotion from my emotions. I'm attached to my mom and dad. I should stay here. I should look after them. They're getting old, and maybe I will not get the degree that I want, but I can still manage with whatever education the state has got to offer here. So I'll manage that, and at the same time, I'll fulfill the duty of a responsible child to my parents. And at the end, where do I arrive? Maybe after 5 years, I that I should be having, and at the same time, do I have regret of not of giving up on my parents? No, I don't have that regret. But do I have that dream job? No, I don't have that dream job. Now, that is the emotional perspective. Now let's put it in a more rational perspective. Rationally, I should be going there. I should be getting out of this state, going to somewhere better. So I go there and I study. In the meantime, I'm coming once or twice, but I cannot afford being here all
I'm
the
so
time.
sorry to
So
cut you
I'm there
short in middle,
studying.
but I
Yeah,
think
sure.
the network got a little stuck, and I think we missed some points from the emotional.
All right.
So could you please repeat the entire thing?
Yeah, sure, please. It's okay.
Thank you, sir.
So I was talking about looking. You were asking me about dilemma, right? How do you deal with dilemma? So dilemma, there are two ways to deal with dilemma. That is emotionally and rationally. So now there is not a particular blueprint that in such a situation you should deal with. You should go the emotional way, and in such situation you should go the rational way. So what we can do is now this nothing. Now there is no way that can give you 100% foolproof answer. There is no way. That is life. That is the paradox of life. But what we can do is we can look through the two different perspectives, arrive at two different results, and compare the two different results and choose which one do we want. So let's say there is a kid who has responsibilities back home, and his aspirations are that he wants to go to, let's say, Delhi. He wants to go to Delhi and he wants to study at Delhi University so that he can get a proper job. He can get his dream degree. But now, emotionally, if we think that kid, he is now stuck in the dilemma that whether to take care of his parents back home or should he go. So emotionally, if he thinks he will stay here, he will sacrifice his degree at there. He will manage with whatever he can get. And now he is fulfilling his role as a kid to his parents, right? So 5 years from now, does he have a degree? Does he have a degree? Yes, he has. But is it Delhi University? No, he doesn't have the dream degree. But at the same time, is he regretting emotionally? No, he's not regretting because he has fulfilled his duties. So that is the result of emotional perspective. Now, rational perspective. He goes to Delhi and he studies there. Even when his parents are sick here, he cannot come back. He has finished the degree somehow in the next 5 years. And where has he arrived? He has finished his degree, he has his dream degree, but at the same time, his parents are at home, they are old, they are sick. But now, since he has a degree, he can send money back, or he can do what he is supposed to do to take care of them now. So here we have two different scenarios. In one, he is materialistically more established in the sense of rational perspective. And in the other hand, he is emotionally satisfied. He is not regretting anything. He doesn't have any regret, but he has a big challenge in front of him that even though he's with his mom and dad, now he has to figure out a way to earn a living to take care of them. So now at the end, now here again, the person can the person must choose: do I want to go this way or that way? Now this is nothing less, and this again is not less than a dilemma. But now the picture becomes more clear. So to answer your question, how do you deal with dilemma? There is no way to deal with dilemma, but you can make it a little bit easier, a little bit more reasonable by breaking it down to two different ways.
Making it clear.
Yeah, making it clear, like what exactly do you want to, like you need to think what do you want to end up with, but then at the same time you cannot just think about what do I want to end up with, because life is not just about what would happen after 5 years, right? Life can be also about what's happening right now. You and I are talking, this experience that we are having. Life can also be about this one. So dilemma is a reality of life. Many philosophers have even talked about it. They have written papers, books, and nobody today has been able to come to a single agreement.
That's a very interesting fact. Um,
Yeah,
we have a lot of things to discuss, but since we earlier talked about not extending the session too much, I have just a
yeah,
couple of questions left. I think the most important question that the title itself says that the art of thinking, introduction to big questions of life. What is the purpose of
yeah. What is the purpose of life? Okay, that's another very big question. The purpose of life depends. Now, that's very subjective at the same time. Depends on a person. Now, the purpose of life for me, if I think, uh, the purpose of life should be something in which I fulfill a decent amount of my moral responsibilities, but then at the same time, I somehow balance by living life for me at the same time. That's what I think. That's just my perspective. But if you think about, let's say, a doctor in let's think about a doctor who is in a country where disease are spreading everywhere, people are dying. Now in that position he cannot think that my purpose of life should be to go trekking in the mountains, right? So maybe in that position he would think that my purpose of life is to serve these patients till I die, till my last breath. So and at the same time, maybe the purpose of life of a primary school teacher, she would feel like my purpose is to to teach these kids, give these kids value, to nurture them. So purpose, I think, should, now there is one way to put it, that is, the purpose of life can be elucidated or can be found if you really question yourself, if you look at yourself and find out what you're good at, find out what you can do even in a very tiring day, right? So uh, so now with that, can you do something that you would like your life to be defined by? Let's say I like teaching. Let's say now I question myself: is teaching good? Does teaching do anything good? Yes, it does. So do I like teaching? Yes, I like teaching. Can I teach even on a day when I have, let's imagine a day I had a big fight with my family, or had a very bad breakup? Yes, I can still teach. So can I define my life? Do what would it be acceptable for me if, let's say, I die someday, and when people ask who he is or who he was, and somebody would say that he was a teacher, he taught his whole life. Should I be happy? Yes, I would be happy. So yeah, there I got my purpose. I'm good at teaching. I can do it. I like it. So yes, that can be one way to look at purpose of life. And since skills, interest, hobbies differs from person to person, the purpose of life differs from person to person, and obviously the environment plays a very important role. Like I said, in the case of that doctor in the country where everybody is sick. So yeah, that is.
That is a question that everyone has in their minds. I just thought it was important to add this. Um, Here's
Yeah.
just a bunch of questions. If you have to ask any questions to make the students or any audience watching this think a little bit, then what will be those questions?
Think a little bit. Okay, there's this one thing that I thought. Uh, so let's imagine, and now this we call in philosophy thought experiment. There's something called thought experiment where uh, you're made to imagine certain things and you come to a certain conclusion. So let's do a little bit of thought experiment. Let's imagine you're creating a country or a state or a place where people would stay, more than one family, like a society would stay. And you don't know, and after you create it, you will born as one of those citizens in that society, okay? And you cannot fix what gender you would be, what would be your gender, and in what kind of family you would be born, like a rich family or a very poor family or a middle class. You don't know whether how your parents would be. You don't know how who your friends are going to be. You don't know anything. It can be complete random. You can be one of those citizen whose society you are building. Okay, it's like a sandbox game, like Minecraft and stuff. So you are let's it's a game where you are building this society, and after you're done building this society, you will become one of its citizen, and you have no idea which citizen, which family you are going to be. So what kind in that case, what kind of society would you like to build? Would it be a democracy? Would it be a dictatorship? Would it be a place ruled by kings and queens? Now, would that society have any religion? So these are the questions that you can answer yourself, you can ask yourself.
Before we conclude this, growing up, we all have had any sort of thoughts, philosophical thoughts about life. What is one philosophical question you wished everyone thought about growing up?
What is one philosophical question everyone thought about growing up? I think I don't know. There's a lot. Okay, so there's this one question. I think if people thought while growing up, then they would have lived their life way better. That includes me and all the people I've known so far. That is, this moment is never coming back. Okay. Uh, this thing is not coming back. This second is not coming back. This day is not coming back. It's not like a photograph that I can revisit Facebook feed after 10 years. So I think if while I was growing up, now that I do know some part of it, but let's say 10 years before or 20 years before, when I was a little kid, if I knew that the day I was living, the year I was in, the classes I was sitting in, the friends I was talking to, all of those things was none of which would be ever coming back in any same condition, then I think I would have lived my life a little differently. Everything is changing. Everything is There's nothing permanent. There's nothing you can define as permanent. Even the meanings of words are changing. So there's a very famous saying. There's a philosopher called Heraclitus. Heraclitus is a Greek philosopher. He says, "You can never step twice into a flowing river." So everything keeps changing. If only I knew this, if only I knew this, life would have been so different, and people would have lived their life so differently. I think they would have slowed down a little bit. They wouldn't be rushing so much, and and the world would be a little less materialistic and more humane.
So, moving forward in the same, what's one idea or philosophy that has personally changed the way you look? the way you see the world?
One idea of philosophy.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know. I think it's related to that change that I told you before, that everything keeps changing. But if I really think about it, see, there are two kinds of philosophy that we generally study here. There's Western philosophy and Indian philosophy. And uh, did we have a network error right now?
I think it's flickering a little bit, but I can definitely hear.
Yeah.
Video is a little.
It's okay. I can start again.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So about that one philosophy that you asked, I live that has made me think. I think it's about change, that everything changes, that nothing is permanent. And this is not from a single source that I've arrived to this, because whether you look at ancient Greece, or at the ancient Greek philosophy, or the modern philosophy, or even in India, in our own place, where like Buddhism, Jainism, so none of this philosophy, all of this philosophy talks about one very common thing, that everything keeps changing. There's nothing permanent. So that brought a major change to me. I remember the first time I was reading Buddhism. I remember the first time I was reading Heraclitus and other philosophers. And yes, there's one which is directly related to this change. The philosophy of the philosophy of there's a guy called Hegel. Hegel is a German philosopher, and he says that every thesis has an antithesis. Okay, so and every antithesis has a synthesis. See, in our daily life, we think that contradiction is a problem. We think that, and before Hegel, everyone used to think that, all philosophers used to think, all scientists, thinkers, they used to think that if I'm trying to build up something, let's say a formula, or maybe a structure, or maybe I'm trying to draw something, or do whatever, and if I'm facing a contradiction, that is a problem. People used to think that, and still people do. But Hegel said, no, it's actually not a problem. Contradiction is the very reason why things change. Without contradiction, there is no progress. Now that impacted my life to a huge level. That's one philosophy that I think I would choose to say.
And to conclude the session, this is one question I like to ask all the guests. You've shared a
Yeah.
lot about philosophy and everything, but keeping all that aside, in general life, what is one piece of advice or message that you want to give the youth watching this video right now?
Okay, to the youth, I would say read. I would say, and for those who see, as youths of this society, or whatever, yes, as youths today, they are going to be the future pillars of our tomorrow, right? They are going to be the future pillars. So it is very, very important, critically important for them to be individual thinkers. And by individual thinkers, I don't mean that they have to become scholars. No, but as a normal human being, they need to have that minimum capacity to think, to reason, and that they can acquire only by reading, talking, and listening. So read lots of books, and it doesn't have to be self-help books. It doesn't have to be philosophical books. You like reading about Barbie, read Barbie. You like manga, read manga, but read at least. Read, watch lots of things. Watch movies. Watch all kinds of movies, commercial, art, historical, everything. Listen, and most importantly, practice dialogue. Dialogue is the practice in which people converse together. They exchange idea, and then they argue whether which idea is true and which is better. You know. So this practice, as long as this practice exists, I think people will keep being people.
Thank you. So that was a very important message. And to all the students watching, I hope you learned a lot because I learned a lot from this session. And there's a lot to talk about the art of thinking. But we cannot complete that in just
Yeah,
one session. It's been almost past 40 minutes.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we
it's
would love
endless.
Yeah, so we would love to see you in our future sessions to teach more about many things. So thank you, sir, for being
Yeah,
here, and thank you so much to everyone for watching this.
thank you. It was my pleasure. It was my pleasure.
So thank you so much to all the students and everyone watching this session, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot from it. Thank you so much to Sir for joining us, taking his valuable time out and sharing his experiences and knowledge with us. And with that, Sir had asked a question in this session. So if you have an answer to that, and if you can just think about it and share an answer in the comments, we would love to read your answers. And thank you so much for watching this session till the very end. And for more classes and sessions like these, please subscribe to Maheii's channel. Agache.